Cruise in the Morning team. Good to have you along with us this morning. Good to have Edwin Walker with us as well. Mr. Walker is an attorney with Texas Law Shield and gun law expert. And Edwin, there's an interesting story I was reading this morning from the Washington Times regarding a business called SSG Tactical in Fredericksburg, where they were inspected by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, and all of a sudden they may lose their license to sell some of these weapons. What are your thoughts, and what happened here in this case?
Well, apparently, and this is sort of an example of things that are happening in gun dealers all across the country. The ATF, they're allowed to come in and make unannounced inspections of a place. And the one thing that they inspect, obviously they want to make sure that no licensed dealer is selling to people who can't lawfully buy guns. But in order to do that, they use this form called a 4473. And a 4473 is an information form. They do the background checks through the NICS system, and so the NICS system is what makes sure that people who don't have guns, who aren't allowed to buy guns, don't have them. But the record of every gun transaction has to be kept on a form, on a government form called a 4473. This 4473 contains over 130 different pieces of information, and if just one of those pieces of information is missing, then the ATF can write it up as a violation.
Or is inaccurate, right? Missing or inaccurate?
Missing or inaccurate. Right. And the thing is the way they define inaccuracy, an inaccuracy would be if somebody's driver's license, if they brought in their driver's license and their address was listed as street and the form put down ST instead or vice versa, then that would be listed as a piece of inaccurate information.
Well, that's a little beyond the pale, I guess. And what do you think? What's the threat? I mean, you're a man who obviously fights for Second Amendment rights as an attorney. What's the threat here? What are those, shall we say, on your side of the aisle saying about this? What are they worried about? What are you worried about?
Well, the threat is that with the discretion that ATF field agents are allowed, that ATF field agents, if they don't particularly like a particular gun store, they can use these types of violations to seek to have their license pulled. And so it has that, unfortunately, has that discretionary element to it, and the fact that there is so much information required that it can, it can distort, how serious or what a violation really is. For example, the guy in Virginia, the story that you read, which we don't represent them, we don't have anything to do with them. It's just an interesting story. They had, I believe, over 4,500 4473s, and out of all these forms, out of all the different pieces of information that were required, I think they said that the ATF determined that it was missing or inaccurate on about 190 pieces. Now, that's not 190 forms. That is 190 pieces out of these 130 pieces that go on each one of those 4,500 forms.
That seems a bit odd. Now, why was this law instituted, and wasn't it just a couple of years ago it was instituted?
Well, no, the 4473 has been required since the mid-'90s. It came about as part of the Brady bill that Bill Clinton signed. And so it's been around. One of the troubles is that the ATF keeps revising the form, and whenever they revise the form, sometimes they just simply alter the format. Sometimes they alter the way the form is the information is recorded. It would be a lot easier for gun dealers for training purposes, because keep in mind it's usually the employee of the license holder that's filling out one of these, since there's so many of them done. And if they just simply would maybe stick to a form, keep it that way, but like I said, it gets altered every couple of years, and every couple of years with the new alterations, perhaps they reword things, or they require new information, or they omit certain information they were collecting. Those are all potential areas for having these quote-unquote inaccuracies.
So what do you want to see happen?
Well, if it gets to a point where it begins, it starts affecting a large number of dealers, or a large number of dealers who are threatened by it, Congress does have the power to rein in the ATF. They've done it before. The ATF got particularly aggressive in the 70s and 80s, and it resulted in the Firearms Owners' Rights Restoration Act of 1986. So in the event that there's a groundswell about this, Congress does have the power to rein in the regulatory powers of the ATF.
If you don't mind, I hope you can stay on just to talk to my producer real quick, Keen, and get your number, because I'd like to talk to you about some more issues that are related to guns sometime. Thanks for your time this morning.
Sure,
We appreciate
absolutely.
it. Edwin Walker, Second Amendment attorney, here with the morning team at 84 WHAS.